there is no rift, we are being told, between Anil Kumble and Virat Kohli, and that the Indian cricket team is backing their gaffer. That's what we understand, and this is an exclusive coming to you from England, where the ICC Champions Trophy is happening right now. And Team India seems to suggest at least that there is no rift between the captain Virat Kohli and the current coach Anil Kumble. Remember, his contract is up for expiry after the ICC Champions Trophy is finished, and we of course also ran the story that Team India perhaps might be already looking for names to replace Anil Kumble. Now we are being told that there is no perceived drift or otherwise between Virat Kohli and Anil Kumble. Currently the team, as you can clearly see from the visuals, is playing the ICC Champions Trophy in England, and they are the defending champions. And this could also perhaps be one way of sending the right message across. Virat Kohli captaining, and this could also perhaps be one way of sending the right message across. Virat Kohli captaining the side, remember. Let's also go across to Sanjeev, my colleague Sanjeev Mukherjee, joining us from the newsroom. Sanjeev, no rift, says Team India, between Jumbo and Virat. Also, it wouldn't be in anyone's interest were there a rift, or at least news of a rift, in the middle of an important tournament India is trying to defend.
Well, yeah, you're right. You're right when you ask that question, Athar. And it is obviously, as we've learned from our sources, both within the Committee of Administrators as well as the BCCI as well as Team India. News travels very fast, and access also is not that difficult these days. So the fact of the matter is that, as we are reporting now here on NewsX, these stories have been planted with malicious intent. It's very, very clear. One thing is crystal clear, that there is a section within the BCCI who are being called, quote-unquote, the old guard, who are very unhappy with what Anil Kumble has done, who are very unhappy with the fact that Anil Kumble has taken up the cudgels on behalf of the players, asking for more money, asking for equal distribution, or rather more proper distribution of the revenue which the BCCI earns. Because end of the day, what the BCCI earns, or even the ICC earns, is because of the cricketers. So in that way, they're obviously very, very upset with the way Anil Kumble, perhaps, as they say, has gone beyond his brief and done more than his duties as a national coach. He's gone to the COA, presented a paper on how much money they should be given, etc., etc. So there is obviously a whiff of that, and that is the reason this particular advertisement was brought up by the BCCI, asking for a new coach. When this coach has performed excellently, instead of giving him a pat on the back, they brought out a new advertisement, trying to teach him a lesson that, look, Anil, you might be Anil Kumble and whoever you are, but we are the BCCI and we call the shots. However, as we are learning, what is more disappointing, Athar, you see, national dailies like Times of India, they're running these big stories which caught everybody's attention earlier this morning, that apparently there's a huge rift between Kohli and Kumble, and Virat Kohli is upset with Anil Kumble for selecting a particular play in a particular game in which he didn't play. These are all baseless. I've spoken to the people concerned who are around this particular story. They're saying this is absolutely baseless. It's created with malicious intent. And what is most disappointing is that, as he rightly pointed out, we are in the middle of a Champions Trophy campaign. We are the defending champions. We've gone there. We are there to defend a title and perhaps try and win the Champions Trophy for a record third time. No other team has done it. But what happens way back home, back here in India, the media is reporting about a rift, alleged rift, between the coach and the captain. It couldn't be get any more disappointing than this.
Right, Sanjeev, stay with us. Shishir Hatangiri also on the phone line right now. Shishir, clearly, as Sanjeev was telling us, our sources indicate that this so-called rift is just a figment of somebody's imagination, put there, planted with malicious intent. Our sources tell us things are just peachy between Kumble and Kohli.
Look, there are a couple of things. I mean, if there is a debate between coach and captain, two powerful individuals who decide on a player or don't decide on a player, that is completely normal and something that is bound to happen. But it does not suggest in any way that there is a rift between two egos. Time and again we've gone through this, and it is very obvious from the timing of this article which I've gone through, and the fact that there has been an advertisement for a coach's job. What it tells you very clearly is that obviously the BCCI are not happy with Kumble obviously exceeding his brief or going outside the realm of his responsibilities as a coach. And that is something obviously they cannot spell it out. So what they have managed to do is make things a little tense between coach and captain, which would be a precursor maybe to asking him or, selecting another coach. And in the midst of a major tournament like the Champions Trophy, where we are going there to defend it, I think it was completely uncalled for. If there is a disagreement, it is between two individuals, and it is bound to happen with two individuals, but it has to be kept in the confines of a locker room, a dressing room, or a boardroom. It cannot come out in the media, and these little tidbits that come out in the media actually affect players. We talk about it from time to time. It affects players because suddenly there's an unknown coldness that sort of seeps into individuals, and you don't want that. You want the team to play together. If the BCCI decides to change a coach, they can well do it after.
Right, now let's also get
such a major
one more query in from Anshuman Gaikwad. He's also a former coach of the India team. Anshuman, clearly, as our sources suggest, this so-called rift is a figment of somebody's malicious imagination, and all seems to be well between Kumble and Kohli. And just a discussion between a coach and a captain doesn't really mean that they are on opposite sides here.
To be very frank, I've been a player myself. I've experienced the BCCI. I've been the selector for 4 years. I have experience with BCCI in the media and coach, of course. Being coach, also I've interacted with media. I'll tell you what, if there was any rift between the coach and the captain, I don't think you would have got these results, what you're seeing since last year or maybe more. So, all these kind of things, creating some breaking news is not called for, and especially when you're getting such a big tournament.
Right, Shishir, as we've just reported, the fact of the matter is that, there is an issue whenever the media reports about anything which is controversial or at least creates trouble. But here what we are trying to do, and I'm sure you would understand, that here at NewsX we are trying to break down this so-called piece of news, which has sort of rattled not only all cricket lovers in India earlier this morning when they got their hands on a copy of the national newspaper, reading that there is an alleged rift between Anil Kumble and Virat Kohli. What we are trying to tell our viewers is that, number one, there is no rift. Number two, we've spoken to people who are very, very close to these happenings, and obviously it is what it has come out in the course of my conversation with many of these people, Shishir, is that very, very clearly this is done with a little bit of malicious intent by people who you or me might call as the so-called old guard of the BCCI. They're trying to rattle Kumble. They're trying to show him his place. This is certainly not done. As you just said, and I want you to reiterate on this fact, many number of times we've seen selection meetings happening and stories coming out, controversial stories coming out. But this is completely not done. The team has gone there to defend its Champions Trophy title, and you build up a story, you cook it up, and then use the help of the media to plant another story day after day. Is this how you show your love for Indian cricket? Who is to answer for this, Shishir?
Sanjeev, I think there is a very eerie undertone to what is happening, and you're talking of a top daily publication, print media that is come out with a story. Now, obviously, it means that there will be when something as eerie as this comes out, it is obviously fed in by people within the corridors of power. And obviously, it is done with an objective. The objective is very clear in my mind. There are no two ways about the fact that this is to rattle, as you rightly said, rattle the coach and create a sense of coldness between the coach and the captain, saying that, that all is not well. But the fact of the matter is, here is where I think the coach and captain have to show solidarity, maturity, maybe come out with a statement and say that, where did you get this information from? We're as good as new. I mean, it'll just
You're right.
Everything.
You're right, Shishir. But, for once we'll have to give it to not only Anil Kumble but also Virat Kohli, because, they're focused, very, very focused individuals, like most other cricketers and the coaches. But what perhaps takes them a step ahead is that even in the middle of a storm like this, a so-called media storm created, their focus is right now how to counter playing the swinging ball. And that's the reason we've seen those shots coming from London, sent by my colleague Vinod Lamba, as to how the Indian team is practicing against the red ball in England. Because why? They want to counter the swinging ball. It tells you a very, very simple story. They're not interested in this trash which is being, planted on more often than not by certain sections within the BCCI. It has not upset them, at least it has not upset them on the surface. They're not showing it, and they're keeping their real job in mind. Anshuman Gaikwad, let me bring you into this one before we try and wrap it up. Make a little bit more sense about this for us. Anshuman, you've been part of Indian teams in the past. You've seen there were similar stories in the past also. Like there's a rift between a coach, between a captain and the vice captain, etc., etc. How does it really matter to the team? That's number one. And it does create a little bit of trouble in the team atmosphere if you have these troubling reports coming to you day after day. Anshuman.
To be very frank, Sanjeev, let me tell you, it doesn't matter at all as far as the team is concerned, and the coach and the captain is concerned, as long as the clouds are clear. These kind of stories keep coming in. I have been quite used to this kind of stories when I was the coach, in fact, when I was the selector as well. And when there is no truth in it. And like I said earlier, if there was any truth, you wouldn't have, in fact, when I was the selector as well. And when there is no truth in it. And like I said earlier, if there was any truth, you wouldn't have got these results. So, all those guys who are trying to do or create some kind of a situation, especially in, when you're getting into such a big tournament, I think they are not one of those well-wishers of Indian cricket. It's very sad.
Of Indian cricket, and I'm sure Shishir and Anshuman, Shishir, to you first, you would agree. Perhaps it's a time for the BCCI to come out and make a press release, because more often than not, we see the BCCI issuing press releases about X matter, Y matter, Z matter. And now this is, like it or not, this is a matter of national interest. Your national team, your Indian team is there to defend its title. You have the media, running all these stories that the coach and captain are at loggerheads. One is not happy with the other. Don't you think, Shishir, it's time now for the BCCI to perhaps for once show courage, come out in the open and give a press statement? Is that not the least we can expect of the CEO, Rahul Johri?
Absolutely. But at the moment, who in the BCCI is going to come forward? Because that itself is a divided house. There is the COA, there are a few people who are there in the BCCI. Now, the question is, who is authorized to give a clarification is very, if the CEO has to give it, I think this is the timing is right for him to come out and say, this is a figment of somebody's imagination. There is no truth in it, because the fact of the matter is that if somebody from within the system has leaked this story, for whatever the objectives may be, it's in poor taste. It is not to the benefit of Indian cricket. If you had a problem with Anil Kumble exceeding his brief or going beyond the realm of his responsibility by discussing player salaries or player incentives, then you should have had a word with him and told him. But, this is a backdoor method of trying to, say that, he's not sticking to his brief as a coach. What's wrong in telling somebody that, look, hey, just hold back, this is where you belong and this is what your responsibilities are. Don't get into a domain that does not concern you.
Thank you for all those views, and thank you, Anshuman and Sanjeev, for getting us that exclusive in the first place. We'll take a very quick break at this point. We'll come back with more stories on the other side. Stay tuned.